with us for the Monday, September 14th meeting of the Durham County Board of Commissioners for our regular session meeting. I will now share the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. As a courtesy to others, please turn off your cell phones, and unless you're actually listening in on it, and please mute yourself when you're not speaking. I will now ask, in lieu of our Pledge of Allegiance with our virtual meeting and no flag in sight, I will ask that we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Are there any agenda adjustments this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the announcements. Getting ready for election season. The Durham County Board of Elections is preparing for the 2020 general election. Please visit the DCO Board of Elections website at www.dcovotes.com, and you can get more information about absentee ballots, early voting, and more. And again, I want to encourage people to go to the Durham County website. There are 14 locations for early voting, 14 for 17 days, 2,500 hours of early voting sites. And we were the first county in North Carolina to get out our absentee ballot. Census sweepstakes. Durham residents who complete the 2020 census have the opportunity to enter a sweepstakes to win a prize. To participate, you must do one of the following. Complete the census online in English at www.2020census.gov or in Spanish at the same location. And you can also call 844-330-2020 for English or 844-468-2020 for Spanish. If you have completed the census, please visit, there's a whole website here that I'm not going to repeat, but it will be on our announcements. And you can also find out this information at www.dconc.gov. But we want everyone to enter the sweepstakes. We want everyone to win. We know everyone can't win, but we would love everyone to win. And most importantly, we need everyone to be counted in Durham County. Deborah, can you tell us where we're at right now?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, we are at 60.5%, so we're steadily increasing. I will remind you that we do have census workers out in the community. They are making their follow-up visits, so those numbers will be going up a bit more as we go forward. We're putting out census signs. Chair Jacobs, you and Mayor Schewel did a very nice video for us. Our public health director, Rod Deakins, did a very nice video for us about census. So again, we're trying to get the word out. We're using radio, public service announcements, and other means. We will be sending out our library mobile unit later this week. And while they are out in the field, they will do their best to try to help people fill out the census. And also, City Hall on the Go is out in the community with neighborhood improvement services, and they are also helping people fill out the census. So we're working very hard.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Glad to hear all those updates. We only have 2 weeks left. Is that right?
That's right. September 30th is it, unless the courts do something different.
Madam Chair, one thought I had, as Deborah was talking about all those wonderful ideas, possibly another one to consider would be an information table at the Durham Farmers Market on the upcoming Saturdays.
I believe we have done that, but I'll double check.
Okay.
But thank you. And we certainly, if we're not doing it, we will.
Yeah, thank you. And again, every vote is worth about $1,800 plus of federal aid. And to the Durham
300 programs across the board. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really critical for our community. And we're trying to get up over 80%. So we really need everybody to just take 10 minutes and fill it out. Every single person in your family. Thank you. Needs to be counted. And I forgot to mention about early voting. About our voting is that our Board of Elections has set up a tent outside of the Board of Elections building to help facilitate people dropping off their absentee ballots. So want to make sure everybody knows that you can, instead of putting in the mail, if you can stop by the Board of Elections, you don't have to go inside. You can just drive up. There's a tent out there for you. Okay, free COVID-19 testing at Walgreens. The testing at Walgreens has moved to a new location. This is a free testing site. It's located at North LaSalle Street. You do still need to go online or call up to make an appointment ahead of time. And you can go to walgreens.com/COVID-19 testing for more information. Central Piedmont Community Action presents the 4th annual CDBG Family Fun Day. You are invited to a COVID-19 friendly trunk or treat event. There will be more information on the Durham County website. You can also contact Alexis Porter, 919-797-0888. And masks or face coverings are required for this event, and we know that people are going to be trying to find creative ways to celebrate Halloween, and this is one of them. Any other announcements?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one that I just received, and I will pass it on to the clerk, but I just want to mention, this is from Duke Energy, and it's, they're hiring 10 experienced line techs. So they're good paying jobs, and it talks about all the requirements. So I will pass it on to our clerk so that it can get on the website so that people can know these jobs are available.
Great, thank you so much. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to our July 13th, 2020 regular session minutes. And I just have one quick follow-up. It was not in our directives, but I know we had talked about, Deborah, we were going to look at what we might be able to do in terms of improving our language access. It was something that you had been working on, and I didn't know when you might be able to come back with that or what the status of that was.
Yes, I have a team of people. We have been working on that. We put together a meeting. We're actually meeting last Friday, and something happened for 2 of our people. We had to cancel that, but the work is going on. So I just want to let you know we did not lose it. It's important.
Right, and we've all learned so much since then with COVID and the census, and so thank you.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. We have we still have the minutes to approve.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Reckow, and we'll have a voice vote starting with Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton,
Yes.
Commissioner Reckow,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so those minutes have been unanimously approved. We have two important ceremonial items tonight, and the first item is for recognition of National Preparedness Month, and we have Leslie O'Connor here, our Chief Emergency Manager, and I will first read the proclamation, and then we'd love to have some comments from you, Leslie, or anyone else that you would like to recognize. Durham Board of County Commissioners Proclamation for National Preparedness Month 2020. Whereas National Preparedness Month occurring annually in September since 9/11 creates an ideal opportunity for every resident of Durham County, North Carolina, to join citizens across the United States in preparing their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, including natural, technological, and human caused. And whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, announced the 2020 National Preparedness Month theme of Disasters Don't Wait, Make Your Plans Today. And whereas 2020 requires extra precautions due to COVID-19 and additional provisions to keep our residents and their families safe. And whereas planning now before a disaster is the best way to improve community resiliency from disaster. And whereas the City County Emergency Management Division partners with federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies to educate individuals on local hazards and how to prepare for them. And whereas the City County Emergency Management Division informs residents on how to take action through its Alert Durham public education campaign, and whereas all residents of Durham County, North Carolina are urged to plan ahead for disasters and encourage their family and friends to do so by visiting the county's preparedness campaign website at alertdurham.com. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, and on behalf of the Durham Board of County Commissioners, to hereby proclaim September as National Preparedness Month in Durham, North Carolina, and with the theme, Disasters Don't Wait, Make Your Plan Today. I encourage the community to observe this month by preparing for emergencies before they occur in Durham County, North Carolina. This, the 14th day of September 2020, Wendy Jacobs, Chair, Durham County Board of Commissioners. So Leslie, so glad to have you with us tonight, as well as Jim Groves, who is our City County Emergency Management Director. And I will turn it over to both of you for comments.
Thank you, Chair Jacobs, and really appreciate, this will be the second year in a row that we've been able to participate in this proclamation, and appreciate you and all of the other commissioners and the manager for taking the time to really recognize and to highlight National Preparedness Month, which is September of each year. This year's theme of Disasters Don't Wait, Make Your Plan Today really resonates with all of us. Who would have thought back in March and April that we would still be working the COVID pandemic, that we would have survived a malware attack, that we would have had a hurricane potentially bearing down on us, and that there would be 7 systems that we're watching in the tropics right now. And so they don't wait. And disasters, be it man-made or human caused, technological, natural, it doesn't matter. They don't care if we're overloaded, and they don't really care that we've had enough, and that everybody's done, and we're just ready for easier days. And so this really highlights the need to make a plan, to build a kit, to prepare for disasters, and to really teach youth about those disasters as well. It starts young. In the same way that we teach kids fire drills in elementary school, we want to start teaching disaster preparedness in that same manner, to get our youth engaged very early. So I'm very proud that my team is watching us on YouTube. That's Ari Shine, Taylor Davis, Hayden Smith, and David Gale. And we do have our Director of Emergency Services, Jim Groves. I'll toss it over to him for any comments, Jim.
Thanks, Leslie. Madam Chair, Vice Chair Hill, Commissioners, Mr. Manager, and Leslie, thank you so much for recognizing this proclamation. It's incredibly important that we take care of ourselves and we take care of our families so we can come to work and take care of our community. And I think that's one of the most important things when we think about September and Preparedness Month is that we're all prepared so we can come into work. And the same thing for the folks that may be listening, right? Make sure that you have a family communications plan. And if something happens, you've got someone out of state that you can call to let them know that you're okay so they don't have to worry. I echo what Leslie was sharing about, have a kit, have a plan, stay informed, and we can get by with just about anything Mother Nature throws our way.
Thank you to both of you, not just for this proclamation and for reminding everybody that even with COVID and everything else, we need to now think about what's coming our way with hurricane season, and then when we get into the winter snows and ice storms as well. Just appreciate all the work that you and all of your staff have been doing around the clock since March 28th. And even when we had the hurricane, DSS was having to think about getting a shelter ready and be on alert for that. And I know one day during a MAC call, Leslie, I finally realized, what is she talking about? You were having to prepare because the president had come into the area and you all were doing emergency management of that. So now during election season, you all are going to be on duty around that. So you all wear many, many, many different hats all the time, and we all really appreciate you. So to make your job easier, where do people go to find out what they should get ready, have a kit ready and just make a plan? What's the best place for people to find that?
Absolutely. So the National Preparedness Month theme is held at ready.gov/September. And then information about all of our local hazards that we face for Durham County can be found at alertdurham.com. So that's the local specific information. And then again, for that national theme, it's ready.gov/September.
Okay, great. Right. Any other comments or questions from board members?
I would just want to say really quickly, you must feel like this is National Preparedness Year and not National Preparedness Month, but what you said, Jim, really struck a chord with me about how you have to be sure your family is safe and that you're prepared at home, because then you come and take care of us. And thank you so much for doing that, for caring for us and the whole Durham community, as well as your own families. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And Leslie, you just had a baby and then you jumped into this whole work as well. So thank you. Well, thank you all. We are so grateful to you, and we will do our best to be prepared so that we can make your lives easier. Thank you. Okay, next we have another important ceremonial item, and I see we have Vivian Slade with us, who is chair of the Durham Women's Commission. Fellow board members, I actually sent an email out, which you all probably did not see, to see if anyone wanted the honor of reading this resolution on behalf of our board, which is supporting women's health and equal access to abortion. So I just wanted to open that up to other board members if they would like the honor of reading this resolution.
Be happy to read it if no one else wants.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Recco. Thank you.
Durham Board of County Commissioners resolution supporting women's health and equal access to abortion. Whereas the resolution to support women's health was passed by the Durham County Board of Commissioners on April 9, 2018, affirming accessible, safe, affordable, and comprehensive reproductive health care services, including abortions, and called for the repeal of the Hyde Amendment. And whereas the right to an abortion has been chipped away since then, North Carolina targeted regulations on abortion providers to include requiring them to perform an ultrasound, send ultrasounds to the Department of Health and Human Services, and banning state funding to abortion providers. And the North Carolina General Assembly recently passed the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, later vetoed by Governor Cooper, where any violation was a Class D felony, punishable by imprisonment and a $250,000 fine. And whereas this bill perpetuates the false narrative that abortion frequently occurs immediately before or at the time of birth, interferes with private healthcare decisions, disregarding clinical practice guidelines put forth by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and makes no mention of the evidentiary guidelines for prosecution. And whereas approximately 22% of Durham County residents are people who can become pregnant, whose health and ability to economically, socially, and educationally succeed is linked to reproductive health care and access to abortion. And whereas the Federal Women's Health Protection Act of 2019 aims to protect the woman's ability to determine whether and when to bear a child or end a pregnancy, and to protect a healthcare provider's ability to provide reproductive healthcare services, including abortion services. And the Federal Equal Access to Abortion Coverage in Health Insurance, the Each Woman Act 2017, aims to ensure affordable abortion coverage and care for every woman and for other purposes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Durham County Board of Commissioners does hereby firmly support reproductive health care and publicly denounces any laws that hinder reproductive rights and access to reproductive. We call for the Women's Health Protection Act of 2019, the Equal Access to Abortion Coverage and Health Insurance Act of 2017, to be passed by Congress, thereby further protecting the choice of pregnant individuals in Durham County to who or when to bear a child or terminate pregnancy, to ensure the monetary cost of an abortion is covered under all and any healthcare insurance, whether private or public. Be it further resolved, we ask federal senators, House representatives, and the President of the United States to pass these acts and sign them into law immediately. This, the 14th day of September 2020. Wendy Jacobs, Chair, James Hill Jr., Vice Chair, Heidi Carter, Brenda A. Howerton, and Ellen W. Reckow.
Thank you, Commissioner Reckow, and thank you, Vivian, and members of the Women's Commission for bringing us this very important resolution. I will now turn this over to you and to also recognize any other members of the Women's Commission who are here with us tonight and to bring comments as well. Thank you.
I am. Patty will give a thank you to all of the women who are actually watching online and tonight in support. Patty.
Thanks, Vivian. Thank you for commissioners for allowing us to bring this resolution to you this evening and seeing the importance of it. I just want to make a comment on the importance of why this resolution is needed in the country, the county, and North Carolina. So I'll begin with abortion is healthcare, and it is safe healthcare. It is time we stopped hindering patients, providers, and payers from undergoing abortions, paying for abortions, and performing abortions. There's a long list of current restrictions in North Carolina about abortions. Number one, women must receive a state-directed counseling on abortion and then wait 72 hours before the procedure. 2, women must receive an ultrasound and be offered to view this ultrasound image. 3, Those that have health care under the Affordable Care Act through the state of North Carolina may only receive abortion if the woman's life is endangered or in the case of rape or incest. This is also the case for teachers and state employees covered under North Carolina's state health insurance plan. 5. Telemedicine is prohibited for the administration of medication abortions. 6. Minors must have a parental consent signed. 7. After viability, only life, endangerment, rape, or incest can abortion be performed. And 8. Public funding may only be used if a woman's life is endangered, rape, or incest. We are grateful for the awareness and the need for abortion when a woman's life is endangered or a woman is raped or is about to have a child born from incest. But what saddens me is that these restrictions in North Carolina they take very little consideration into the most common reasons women choose to have abortions. Simply put, these laws and restrictions impact the equity, timeliness, efficiency on abortion, and are not patient-focused. Most women seek abortions because they're aware of the fact that once a child is born, they're responsible for caring for it, and that responsibility affects their whole life and the lives of those closest to them. Most women choose abortion because they are fearful that this new responsibility will interfere with their ability to care for their current children, their career, or their education. The current restrictions also do not take into any consideration fetal defect or a child's health after birth and throughout their lives. Thank you, Commissioners, for seeing the importance of abortion and trusting women. Thank you for supporting these two acts in hopes of a better future for abortion access and reproductive health. And to anybody that is listening, hear us when we say, my body, my choice, and women's rights are human rights. Thank you very much.
Reproductive health care and equal access to abortion are issues that the Durham County Women's Commission has a robust passion for. This was one of our areas of focus last fiscal year, and the passion around this issue is how this resolution came to be. Due to the pandemic, of course, many of our planned efforts were brought to a standstill as we navigated our way through this new normal. However, this fiscal year, we continue to form our efforts in a new and creative way around reproductive health care as we begin to place emphasis now around Black maternal health. We are currently planning initiatives that will support this resolution as well as Black maternal health. We are surveying the community and stakeholders to identify specific needs as it relates to reproductive health care and Black maternal health. And our intention is to find ways to support this need and to also brainstorm for solutions. We plan to also gather stakeholders to have more in-depth dialogue around these issues. And after researching and evaluating the needs, our plan is to address those needs with the community by facilitating informative workshops, community conversations, and other creative avenues to address these issues. Durham County Women's Commission's purpose is to advise you, the commissioners, on issues relating to women in Durham County. And it is our intent to come before you again with our findings as well as recommendations surrounding these issues. We thank you so much for your time, and we thank you so much for your support with this resolution. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Vivian, and also Patty, both of you, for your very powerful words and for your awareness, your advocacy to bring awareness around these issues, both at the state level and the federal level. So thank you so much. Commissioner Recchio?
Well, I just wanted to thank Vivian and Patty for bringing forward this important solution. And I want to thank all the members of the Women's Commission. I just want to say that you must have a very dynamic group, because anytime we have one open slot, we usually have 5 to 8 applicants. And when you read the resumes, they're all fantastic. It's hard to pick who to put on the Women's Commission. So you must have a great group of women. The main reason, so I want to thank you all for your work and keep on thinking about ways to improve the lives of women in Durham. But I did perk up when you talked about focusing on maternal health. Durham County, in collaboration with the Durham Children's Initiative, is starting a Durham Early Childhood Action using the template of the North Carolina Early Childhood Action. And there's a task force on health, and one of the areas they will be focusing on is maternal health, because we want all babies, particularly Black moms and babies, to get a good start in life. So if you have ideas, let's, after this meeting, let's connect. I want to hook you in so that we can benefit from the work of your dynamic group on a very important issue.
Awesome, we would love to. Thank you so much.
Other commissioners' comments?
Yes, this is Commissioner Howerton. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I also want to lend my voice to say thank you to the commission. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, was it Patty, and all of your team for bringing this resolution. And I'm always touched when you talk about, I don't remember exactly what you said when you said it's my body. And what came to mind is that nobody has a right to make decisions about our bodies but us, and as women. So I just thank you for bringing this to us. And I'm always been very sensitive to the Women's Commission and support you absolutely. So I'm always, just let me know if there's anything that I can do to support you. It'd be my pleasure.
And I would just say, in terms of next steps, because I appreciate that this is following up on the resolution that our board did pass in 2018 related to the Hyde Amendment. And so I appreciate that you are following up and staying on this issue, and the fact that this resolution is referencing both state policy and also federal policy. And so I would suggest, Monica, that because the end of the resolution is focused on federal policy, and that we're resolving to follow up with our federal representatives and with the president. So I would ask our clerk to please send this to our federal representatives in Congress, our senators and our representatives, and also to the president as well as a follow-up. But I will say, Patty, you spoke a lot about state issues related to state restrictions. And so if you want to if you have a recommendation for us for a letter or some way that we can follow up at the state level with our state delegation, or the leadership of the House and the Senate, it sounds, we would be happy to do that as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because the things that you were talking about that impact our state employees, very concerning.
Yeah.
And our
impacts a lot of people.
Yes, yes. And I don't, Joanne, if Joanne is here, or Rod, I guess this is also an opportunity to talk about some of the resources that we have at the county level for women. I don't know if anyone could just quickly comment, just to let people know who are listening, what we have we have a wonderful women and maternal health department in our Durham County Public Health Department. Is there anyone here to just share some of our resources? There's Rod.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Good evening.
We certainly will not miss an opportunity to plug the public health department's wonderful women's and maternal child health area that's constantly looking for innovative ways to protect the lives of women and children. As Commissioner Reckhouse stated, we just brought on a phenomenal and very dynamic ACES coordinator, Jess Bosquet. I did find out, Commissioner Reckhouse, it's Bosquet.
Okay.
So we welcome the opportunity to partner with you, Ms. Slade and Ms. Black. We're constantly looking for ways to just advocate for women and child issues and everything. And again, we look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you, Rod. Okay, well, thank you so much. And please pass on our gratitude to the rest of the Women's Commission as well. We will follow up on this. Thank you. Okay, we have a number of consent agenda items tonight. And I didn't know if there were any items that commissioners wanted pulled or had questions or comments on, what the pleasure of the board was.
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a motion, given that we've gone over all of these. I didn't see anything else added on the consent agenda. I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Howerton, seconded by Commissioner Reckhouse for approval of the consent agenda. And we'll do a voice vote, starting with Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Reckhouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Hill. We can come back. Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
Do we have Commissioner Hill? Maybe having technical difficulties.
Well, he'll be counted as an aye because he's part of the quorum.
Okay, and I'm a yes, so we are unanimous approving the consent agenda. And as Commissioner Howerton noted, this is a long agenda that we did go over in detail before. I do want to highlight that there are many, many fantastic grant funding opportunities on this agenda. Also want to thank the city for the over $1 million in rental assistance that we'll be partnering with our DSS department to distribute for eviction diversion. And I want to highlight the contract for the renewable energy plan that is on this agenda. So very exciting next steps that we are taking as a board to implement our renewable energy goals. Okay, next item is a public hearing on long beverage, item rezoning Z190051. And I'm still trying to get to that in my agenda here. And we have Emily Struthers here, who is a senior planner with the Durham City County Planning Department.
Good evening, Chair Jacobs and the rest of the commissioners. Actually, Ms. Struthers was unable to attend tonight, so I'm here filling in for her. Grace Smith with the Planning Department. It's good
Hello.
to see you all.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna walk Monica through the slides. So again, I'm Grace Smith. I'm with the Planning Department. I'll be presenting long beverage Z190051, and I would like to say for the record that all of the notice requirements were executed in accordance with state and local law, and they are on file in the Planning Department. Affidavits for those are on file. So Monica, you can advance. The applicant for this request is Andrew Porter of Cultural Jewel Thames, PA. The site is 3.12 acres. A portion of one parcel is located at 10500 World Trade Boulevard. The applicant proposes to change the zoning from industrial light with a development plan to industrial light without a development plan, which would allow for all uses in the industrial light district. Next slide. The aerial, you'll see the site is shown in red, east of Page Road, patched. It has some numbers on it. Those numbers correspond with the photos that are labeled in the staff report. Next slide. So these are the site photos that are labeled in the staff report. Photo 1, 2, and 3. Next slide. And these are the rest of the photos, 4 through 8, that were labeled in the staff report. Next slide. You'll see that from those photos, there's a mixture of uses in the area, industrial, undeveloped, residential, and some commercial uses as well. And the context area shows that this property is in the suburban development tier. It's adjacent to Wake County. The adjacent zoning includes industrial, light, and residential rural. Within Wake County, which is on the next slide, the site is zoned research and development and industrial. That would be the next slide. There you go. That's the Wake County side of the property. Next slide. The FLUM is industrial, and they are not proposing to change the FLUM. Next slide. These are the dimensional standards for IL zoning. There is no development plan proposed with this request, and the uses and the dimensional standards of the proposed industrial light zoning would be applied per the UDO at the time of site plan. And there is a site plan under review for this particular site. Next slide. And the request is consistent with the comp plan policies for industrial development, contiguous development, location of industrial uses, infrastructure, and transportation level of service. Next slide. The Planning Commission recommended approval at their July 21st meeting, a vote of 10-0, and staff is available if you have any additional questions. Oh, and I believe the applicant is on the call as well.
Okay, thank you, Emily. I'm sorry, Grace. And I will open this up to board questions for Grace. I have one question, Grace. The issue related to sidewalks. Will the sidewalk still be required with when this comes in for review?
It will not be required per the zoning, but it is being shown on the site plan that is under review now. They are proposing to install. So
Okay.
the zoning actually would not require it, but it is actually shown on the site plan that's under review now that awaiting approval contingent this zoning.
Okay. And my question was, why, I know that what's being done is withdrawing the development plan, which does show the sidewalks, and that it's being withdrawn, and I guess what I had picked up through the comments that it's related to wanting to increase the parking and add more parking spaces, but I'm wondering why, instead of just withdrawing the development plan, there wasn't just a revision to the development plan.
I would have to let the applicant answer as to why they did not want to revise the development plan and they chose for straight zoning. However, it is my understanding the whole purpose for the rezoning was to allow for more parking because the previous development plan limited parking quite a bit. I think the applicant's on the call and maybe they can answer why they chose not to do the development plan.
Okay, so do we have Patrick? I know Patrick Biker and Dan Jewell with us. Is that who's speaking for the applicant, or is it somebody else?
I saw Andy Porter on the call, I think, and he's with Dan Jewell's office.
Okay.
And I think Patrick Biker is on the call as well.
Okay. Well, does anybody?
This is Porter with Coulter Jill Thames. To speak on the parking, the prior development plan, I believe, limited the parking to 4 parking spaces. So with that plan, we would not have been able to increase the parking that Long Beverage desires currently. So Long Beverage currently bought out MIMS Distributing, so they're they've increased movement of beverages through the facility greatly, and that's largely the need for the additional parking.
And can you explain why there wasn't just a revision of the development plan versus just doing away with it?
We chose to go with the straight rezoning. Patrick may be able to speak to this as well, but Patrick took a zoning through for the adjacent parcels within the last couple of years. So we wanted to go with a similar zoning that had similar conditions as what was approved the same not that long ago.
Yes, good evening, Chairman Jacobs.
Hey, good
Happy to
evening.
answer all the questions. Hey there. Would like to address the board right now if that's appropriate. Again, I'm Patrick Biker with Morningstar Law Group. I live at 2614 Stewart Drive, but at the moment I'm in Holland, Michigan, visiting my in-laws. So I'm here tonight to represent Law and Beverage, and as you heard, Andy Porter and Dan Jewell of Coulter Jewell Thames are working with this project, working on this project with me, and thankful for their support on the Zoom call. Rodney Long, the president of Law and Beverage, couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. He had a business obligation that he had to attend to. But Law and Beverage, I do want to stress, is a Durham family business that's achieved great success over more than 6 decades. It's a remarkable story of perseverance, dedication, and the Durham can-do spirit. Today, as Andy was talking about, Law and Beverage employs over 200 people and serves the entire Triangle region. We need to add about 100 jobs. Actually, we need to add those yesterday, and that's why we trying to remove this restriction on parking. That was imposed. Some of you may remember Frank Duke. He requested that we have that restriction on parking on this parcel back about 15 years ago. So what we need to do is build parking on this flat field that's located at the southeast portion of World Trade Boulevard and Page Road. And so the Planning Commission voted for that unanimously, and I would like to ask the board if they can recall that back about 2 years ago you voted unanimously for a similar rezoning for Law and Beverage. A long story short about why we need to remove this development plan and why we were not able to amend it is because the expansion for Law and Beverage is still a work in progress, and we're eventually going to have to expand the building footprint into Durham County. But we don't have a feel for that right now. We know we need the parking, but sometime within the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to have to increase the size of the building significantly as well. And whether that will be 5,000 square feet in Durham or 50,000 square feet in Durham, we're not able to say that right now. So the bottom line is we have very strong growth projected at Law and Beverage for the next 5 or 10 years. And the site plan that's under review will install the sidewalks that you referred to, Chairman Jake. And so this rezoning allows the success story of Law and Beverage to continue, and this will create good paying living wage jobs for people in Durham who choose to enter the workforce after high school. It does not, however, this rezoning does not generate any significant peak hour traffic, because for those of you who are familiar with Law and Beverage, you know that their employees actually come in between 4:30 and 5:30 a.m. Then they leave for their routes, and then they depart the building to go home somewhere around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's not a peak hour traffic issue that will be created with this rezoning. And so for all these reasons, we respectfully ask for your approval tonight, and Andy and I will be happy to answer any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Commissioner Recchio?
Thank you, Patrick, for that history. It was jogging some memories because I was involved in the rezoning of Long Beverage.
Right.
Just wanted to check. I'm assuming, though, that this parking lot will comply with all the current zoning requirements, that there will be a buffer around the parking lot, and it'll be a pleasant-looking parking lot. Is that correct?
Yes, the site plan complies with all UDO requirements. It's, again, it was, for those of you who remember Frank was a good guy, but he was, he wanted us to have a very restrictive zoning on this property, which, 15 years ago, nobody thought that we'd be in this position right now where, you know, the ironic thing about the obviously very difficult circumstances our community and the nation's been going through for the last, whatever it is, 6, 8, 12 months, well, feels like 12 months. Law and Beverage has actually been able to expand their business in this because they're selling more of their products through grocery stores, convenience stores, and then was lost with the shutdown of the restaurant. So we're fortunate in that these are excellent paying jobs with a great Durham-based employer, and so we need to hire these people to keep the product moving and to just meet the needs of the customers.
Thank you. Hey, any other questions? Okay, I'm actually going to, you kind of got a little bit ahead of me with your spiel, Patrick. I'm now going to open the public hearing.
Oh man, I forgot that. It's been recorded, so just, you know, flip that around, it'll be fine.
Okay. So I'm opening the public hearing. And do we have anyone who has signed up to speak, Monica, other than Patrick?
No, Chair Jacobs. Patrick was the only one.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right, so we have, I will now close the public hearing and bring the
Chair,
matter before the board.
I would move approval.
Do you, we have two consistent.
Oh, right. Let me put one.
Move that we adopt the UDO ordinance zoning map change consistency statement regarding Z19000051 Long Beverage.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Ratko, and we'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Hill, are you back with us?
I am.
Good to have you back. Okay, Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
Commissioner Ratko.
Yes.
And I'm yes, so that is unanimous. And we have a second action.
Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by property out of the industrial light for the development ILD zoning district, establishing the same as industrial light IL zoning.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Ratko, seconded by Commissioner Howerton, and a voice vote starting with Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Ratko.
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so that's unanimous. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Patrick and Grace.
Yeah. Miss y'all. Hope to see you soon.
Okay. Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Patrick.
Thanks a lot. Good night. Good night, folks.
Okay, other business this evening is we have a update from our Public Health Director, Rod Jenkins, on COVID-19 and Durham County's response. Thank you, Rod. Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure, Madam Chair. Good evening again to you, Madam Chair, and members of our illustrious Board of County Commissioners. Again, I'd like to thank you all, as I always do, for your support during this COVID event. As you said earlier to Leslie and Jim, it has been 6 months straight that we've been going at it, and we certainly appreciate all of your support throughout this pandemic. As of today, Durham County had 37 cases of COVID reported in, which brings us to 230 active cases. We have 7,026 inactive or discharged cases of COVID. Since we last met virtually, we did pick up about 4 deaths. There were individuals who were some long-term care facilities, lots of comorbidities, and some were hospitalized for quite some time. So our thoughts and prayers, as always, goes out to the families. That brings us to a total of 88 deaths in Durham County due to COVID. And our total is 7,346 total cases of COVID since the pandemic began. We currently sit at 13,877 contacts made between the Durham County Department of Public Health and CCNC partners with the state. Our 7-day moving average continues to reflect that transmission has been tempered down in Durham County. Our 7-day moving average remains at 28, and this is a decrease from 38 the previous week and 32 the 2 weeks ago. So we continue to exhibit those behaviors needed to do a good job with COVID. As far as race, ethnicity, and work, we continue to see lower averages in our Hispanic population, though overrepresented. They still represent 40% of all of our cases so far in the month of September. Our Black of African American continues to be proportionally represented at 35.24%. And our white Durhamites continue to be underrepresented at 21.90% of all of our cases. As far as work and where these individuals work, we're starting to see universities and hospitals continuing to be affected, as well as unemployed. And unemployed individuals remain at 40.90% of the Hispanic population in Durham, and the majority are female. 80% continues to be in the construction work industry, and our Hispanic Durhamites and all were male. And 30% of our cases were associated with nursing care facilities. The majority were Black or African American, and the majority were female. In terms of our positive percentage, this is something to really be proud of. We continue to show 4.2% of all our labs being reported electronically were positive. Duke's model did have us at 2.6%. So again, whether it's 4.2 or 2.6, we'll certainly take it, because there was one point in time it was as high as 15%. So we continue to reap the benefits of having our positive percentage remain relatively stable below 5%.
Rod, can I
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
a quick question around?
Yes, ma'am.
In a typical day, Durham, about how many tests are being administered? So when you say that we're at 4.2, I was just wanting to get a sense of how many tests are being given.
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking, Commissioner Rakow. We're doing extremely well with testing, and the latest report that I received showed that on a typical day, I say probably out of 7 days, we're averaging 700 tests. So on average, it's right at about anywhere from 100 to 125.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. I am also proud to report that although we continue to see the highest rates of transmission in that 27704 zip code, which is the eastern part of Durham County, which inhabited Hamlin Road, Gear Street, Cheek Road, and parts of Bragtown, Colonial Village, and Merrick Road. We do have, as mentioned previously in the announcements, Walgreens has moved from Guest Road to 200 North LaSalle Street, and that was effective on September 1st. And we also have CVS in that 27703 area code, which is now on 5111 Wake Forest Road. I'm also pleased to announce that Walgreens, effective last week, will now perform COVID tests on kids who are 12 years old and older. That was one thing that we kind of had as a source of contention with CVS, that they were not testing kids who were 12 years old and older. We consider that to be a small win.
I have a question on that, because
Yes, ma'am.
I heard a very interesting story on NPR yesterday about the fact that young children who may be in childcare if they've been exposed to COVID, need to get a test to go back to their child care provider. But the mom was saying that they were interviewing how hard it is to find a place that will test a very young child. What do you do to get a 4-year-old tested?
I will say that that does continue to be a source of significant issue. I think that is the reason why CVS pivoted and did what they needed to do. But I will say that our Holton site continues to be that site in which we are able to have individuals of all ages to be tested. And the majority of the testing and the results that we're receiving are coming from that Holton site. And of course, their primary care physician or pediatrician is also able to do that as well. So there are avenues that they can approach, but you know, I think the reason for the segment was the fact that it's not as widespread available as, say, for instance, for an individual's 18 years of age and older. So it's something that we continue to raise with the state. And I can tell you with school back in session at our weekly COVID-19 briefings with the state, COVID-19 and children in schools are one of the #1 topics that we discuss, Commissioner.
Right. I mean, with some schools back in session, the ability to test children is vital. I hope that you will urge the folks you talk to at the state to work towards having more testing sites. And then I guess we need to publicize that they can go to Holton. But I was astonished when I heard the story that getting a child tested is a problem.
I cannot speak for, and I know that NPR, which I'm definitely a fan of, I know that they have a wide viewing audience, but as your health director, I can say that I've not heard of many issues with children being tested, Commissioner Recca, and I will certainly do as you asked and raise that issue with us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Not much left to discuss, but again, ironically enough, my next subject is on the impact of COVID-19 in daycare and school-age children, and we continue to monitor this very closely. As I've said before, many times before, Durham is just like all the other areas of the country where we're starting to see COVID-19 and school-age kids increasing. For last week, it was right at 20%. And we did participate with 2 Duke epidemiologists last week at Durham Public Schools work session, just to give them a briefing and let them know how we're doing and to really assist them with their decision-making process as it relates to school. And we did indicate that we're keeping a close eye on school-age children and COVID's impact. I would be remiss, ladies and gentlemen, if I did not implore you all to get your flu shot. We certainly don't want COVID's impact to really be as strenuous on our providers and healthcare system with the confluence of flu. And we will continue to advocate for flu shots in Durham County. And we are making plans along with our community healthcare coalition to see what we can do to provide mass flu testing. Mass flu shot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask about that because it seems like it would be very helpful to provide shots, perhaps, for instance, at the farmer's market where there is it is covered, but, in a safe outdoor environment where we set up and provide shots, and particularly also for our employees, make a huge effort to have everyone get a flu shot, but then also that are opening it up for county residents.
We are certainly making plans to do that, Commissioner Reckow. I will say that in conversations with my immunizations division, they have indicated that around this time, we would normally have a robust supply of flu vaccine, and for some reason, this year, I don't know whether or not it's the federal government or whether or not it's the state government, but we have been receiving percentages of what we've requested. So that's another topic that I have for the state, is to ask them what is really going on, because my community is prepared to administer flu shots and we need flu vaccine.
Wow. I had not heard that yet, Rod. Okay. Wow. Well, Rod, I just want to thank you again for this excellent report. It's really important that we have you at our meetings on a regular basis so that this information can be provided, not just for us, but really most importantly for the greater community to get these updates from you.
Indeed.
Yes, so really appreciate it. Go ahead.
It's no problem, and it's I appreciate the shout out from Deborah Craig Ray. It was a privilege and an honor to do the video for the census, and definitely, I'm going to say that's the reason why your numbers increase.
Right. Rod, tell everybody about, Rod does these weekly updates, which are fantastic, and I know Deborah, you're a part of that with your staff, and they're so good. But you tell everyone how many hits one of yours had. That
I tend to get the jargon mixed up to my commissioners, but I think it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I think they call it the reach was over 600,000, and I don't know how it happened, but I just did my video.
One when your son was on it?
No, not that one. That was a good one. That was a good one. But nah, it was like two weeks ago, and they think like some famous person must have posted it or did something. I don't know. But I'll take it.
Yeah, really. So Rod, I wondered if you could follow up on and just talk a little bit about the COVID support program that Duke Community Health was awarded, and just to let our board and the larger community know how that's going to be, how's that going to roll out, how's that going to be implemented. If you could just talk a little bit about that.
We certainly have community. All great
Thank you. I don't know if it was just me, but your voice was a little bit low. Could people hear Rod okay? Yeah, so this is targeted for people who test positive. A lot of our frontline workers who don't have sick leave or hazard pay or anything like that. And it gives all kinds of wraparound support. And as Rod mentioned, they're partnering with like Community Health Coalition, Durham Thrive, Communities in Partnership, El Centro. There was like a whole list of community-based organizations that are going to have community health workers and help provide the wraparound support and the referrals and the access. So it's really fantastic, and it's literally just launched, right? Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions for Rod from anyone? So we look forward to hearing about the flu vaccine and what we can all do to help promote it. A few years ago, Durham County did this amazing program where we were giving out flu vaccines in the county commission chambers. Do you remember that?
We all took the shot on camera, and then they
yeah. So and it was really great. So I agree with you, Rebecca, how getting Durham County employees vaccinated and then and getting it out to our community. Deborah, did you want to comment on that, or?
Oh, well, I did want to add that I plan to get my flu shot this week, and I would encourage everyone to do the same. Of course, we've been communicating with Rod and his team. We're going to help promote that message, but it is important that we take this very seriously.
Right. And Rod, CVS and all of the pharmacies are going to be doing those as well, right? Doing flu.
Correct.
Right. Lincoln Community Health Center. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Appreciate all of the work you're doing and all of your staff. I'm really sorry to hear that you lost your deputy.
Oh, no. Passion.
Yeah.
As we do in Durham, we reload.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, next is Deborah. That's why she's up on board. She's ready for a discussion of the 2021 legislative goals for NCACC. I'll turn it over to you, Deborah.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioners and Mr. Manager. This is what I call the first of our three-legged stool as it relates to legislative goals. We start with the NCACC schedule. Their deadline for receiving goals from counties is September 30th. I will next be coming forth with any ideas that we have in terms of Durham County specific legislative goals that we want to put together. So I'll be requesting them from our department heads and from you. And also the third leg would be the federal goal. So I just want to let you know what is yet to come. This evening, I would like to just kind of go over the NCACC schedule. As we said, and I know you've gotten notices, the deadline for them to get our suggestions in to their office is September 30th. They must be approved by your board in order to go forward. Once they get in that process, they are heard by the steering committee, which is made up of 7 subject areas. They vet all of the goals that come forward and they give them a score. Basically, they are deemed favorable, amended, unfavorable, or need further study. So it's a full process. And I think most of you all have participated in that process. That will go forward in October and in November. And so by December, there will be a recommendation. The actual Legislative Goals Committee meeting, which is normally like a 2-day meeting, will probably be virtual, I would imagine at this point. It's scheduled for January 14th and 15th. So that's when final votes will take place. And I will add that because of the timing and new members being sworn in communities, there is an opportunity to offer additional goals from the floor. And as I said, all of you have been through that process. I sent out information to our department head in early July. The responses that I received back are in the document that I have brought forward. There are 2 items that came in from Commissioner Howerton, and both of those, excuse me, both of those are actually goals that were approved by NCACC as priority items for 19 and 20. So technically, they're kind of on the slate right now. Those were the 2 goals, and they would be in the area of taxation and finance. So the first 3 items are from Ben Rose, and they are under the Health and Human Services Committee. And I think Ben is on the line, and I've asked him to go through his items if you don't mind.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So our focus this year, as it really, quite honestly, has been for about probably 4 years now, is on the adult services and senior protection services that we do. We have historically not received a lot of support from the state to provide adult protective services and guardianship services. There are 2 of our key core mandates we do that really help keep seniors safe. Protective services is an area that's really been growing over the years as well too, as there's been more education and more outreach and information about elder abuse and elder neglect and exploitation, especially when we get into a pandemic, we often see exploitation cases go up. So our focus has really been on, number one, preserving some of the block grants, federal block grants that we get for these services, because one of the historical tricks that the state has used is to reallocate from federal block grants, take away from county services, put into state areas. So that's one of our focuses, is to protect our block grant. And then the second one is to really, and this has been a focus of our association for quite about 3 years now as a priority one, is to get some kind of state funding for adult guardianship. As you probably know, we are the only public agency that does guardianships now. And we have seen a large increase, not only in caseloads, but in case severity and types of cases we deal with. It used to be 20 years ago, our wards that we were providing guardianship services for were very elderly people in nursing homes. Now we have 21-year-olds with schizophrenia. And then on top of that, we still have the seniors that have a lot of health care and social needs issues. So guardianship has been typically a county-funded service, but yet it's a state mandate. And so we are really advocating hard to get funding from the General Assembly to help support these services. The last goal that we have, goal number 3, which is on the back, is related to child welfare and working to increase the state's funding in child welfare. Child welfare is a federal and state mandate. However, the state has probably maybe 5% of funding in it. Primarily, funding comes from the federal government, from the counties. So what we've asked for from the states and our legislative goals is for the state to provide a 50-50 match on all non-federal funding, child welfare service. But our focus remains on our seniors and our legislative agenda. We feel like there is just not enough dollars there. And again, we're seeing increases all around because we are now actually paying for wards. We actually are providing using county dollars to pay for their room and board when we have to place them in certain living situations or group homes. And it's becoming more taxing on us from a budgetary standpoint and a service standpoint. So we really want to advocate for seniors and the disabled legislative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
So,
Ben?
Deborah and Madam Chair, around food insecurity, The new president of NCACC, I think his initiative will be about food insecurity. So if there, and I'll be serving with him, and I'll also be on the board of directors this coming years. So if it's anything that from DSS maybe that we could put together around food insecurity to push would be great. Given that the whole state will be looking at that issue from each area. So if it's something that we could maybe put together.
Yes, we'd be happy to support you on that as well too. One of the obvious areas that we have seen is with the pandemic and the additional caseloads that we've seen. So I think anything supporting that, we would be happy to help. I can work with Deborah on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're still up our waiting list, and I think now we may have got about 100 people off the waiting list, but we're still at way over 300.
Meals on Wheels, yes, we are.
On a waiting list for Meals on Wheels. It was over 400 before. So that's a definite need.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ben. I just want to also just acknowledge again all of the incredible work that you and your staff do. And you're right, the guardianship is very, very difficult. As you mentioned, it's not just, people that you would think of. It's all ages and circumstances. And we get no funding, literally no funding from the state. It's really criminal.
We've actually kids exit foster care and enter into guardianship now. Many counties have experienced that. So it's the spectrum. So yes, I thank you, Wendy, for acknowledging that. It is a very difficult service indeed.
It's akin to unfunded mandate, really.
It really is. It really is.
So the next section on taxation and finance, as I mentioned, seek additional revenue sources for public schools, community, college capital challenges. As you know, that's been priority of the association for several years. It's a continuing priority. And it was literally the number 2 top priority for the current legislative goals process. So I was just asked to continue to add that. And I didn't know if you wanted to say something about that, Commissioner Howerton.
No, I think it speaks for itself. We're just going to keep putting it on there and keep putting it on there until they take action on it. And having conversations with some of the other commissioners across the state, they are, that's one of their hot buttons too. So we just keep pushing it.
All right. And
I have a question related to taxation. So I was glad to see this got added. We've had conversations, I know especially Commissioner Rakow, you brought this up, about trying to push the expansion of our existing property tax relief programs. And this came up with us when we were discussing low-income property tax relief on our board. So I would suggest adding something requesting expansion of the criteria for the existing state property tax relief programs. And getting input from Dwayne about what he would recommend for that language and what criteria would be helpful to There's Claudia.
Yeah, she's going to help us out.
Okay. Hi there. We did some draft some language that was Durham specific, and I think that will be. I think the county specific items will happen a little bit later. So we did craft something for that because we thought we may have more success that way. But it is a great idea to still push it at the county, at the statewide level as well.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about not related to us, but just the existing programs. Yeah, and I don't think it should be county specific. We're going to have more success if it's something broad that is statewide.
Right,
So,
Claudia and I will collaborate and get some language
okay.
together. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Mecklenburg County they had proposed something at one point. They were asking others to sign on to, but, so I don't know what the best
Okay. We
approach
can
is.
I'll check with Starla, their legislative person.
Yeah, thank you.
And the other item was reinstatement of affordable housing tax credits. And again, that was on the current legislative agenda for NCACC, and it was another priority item. So, yes.
Question, I did not know that they were not, when did they go away? They, do you know?
I would have to double check that, but again, I went back to look at our list from current time, and I didn't see anywhere where it was approved or that goal was satisfied, but I will double check that for you.
But there were state affordable housing tax credits at some point.
You're correct, yes.
I didn't know that they were eliminated.
You were, a couple of years ago when they made changes with some of the movie tax credit, some of the housing tax credits, I think there was some legislation that some of that may have been included in. That's just my memory, but I will have to research it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good background for us to have, particularly if, and one thing while I have the floor, I would like us to schedule a meeting with our legislators, maybe do it in advance of the session before they get busy.
Yes.
And maybe, it could be a wide-ranging meeting with discussion around issues like I think it's important. And again, while I have the floor, I'll just say that I want them to think about the fact that the distribution of the CARES Act funds in this state was not equitable. The major committee, the large committees for 3 counties in the city of Charlotte that had populations over 500,000 got a lot of money, ranging from just under 100 million for the 2 smaller jurisdictions up to almost 200 million each for the 2 biggest, Wake, Metro. And then they took a very small piece of the pie. I think it was 185 million. And
no, 150 million.
All right, 150 million.
County.
Divided that up among 97 counties, and we're supposed to share that with the city. Then they added in another tranche, but that was smaller. The bottom line, though, is that a county like Durham, 6th largest in the state, we got just under $9 million, while Guilford County, with a little over 500,000 people, we're at 330,000, got just under 100. I don't see any equity, and I was on a NACO call and heard about CARES Act, use of CARES Act funds in other states like Florida and Pennsylvania. And what I learned is that those 2 states, at least, shared the money much more equitably. It was an example of a county in Florida with a population of 275,000 people, less than Durham, and they got $40 million from the state of Florida. And so they were describing all the innovative things that they are doing. I think I really want our legislators to think about this, know that this was not fair, and we have huge unmet needs. And so I was actually going to suggest a legislative goal that looks at has the money related to need. So we're looking at number of COVID cases and, you know, other parameters other than, and that we can't have this huge gap between the haves and the have-nots in this state. So I think that needs to be conveyed, because this has been a very disappointing process.
And I will tell you, I was on a call with the staff, NCACC staff and lobbyists on Thursday when we got the news that we did not get another appropriation out of Washington, the so-called skinny appropriation. And what we heard was the piece that seemed to be holding things up was the fact that the feds weren't really trusting that states and local governments needed more money. How ironic is that? So that's the battle we're fighting.
Yeah.
But we will carry the message, certainly.
And the reality is that our state legislature chose to take $440 million in CARES Act money and distribute it in checks of $335 to a lot of people who may not have actually needed it, and that may not have been the highest and best use of that money in terms of helping people who were most suffering, really suffering in our state. So that's what happened to our CARES Act. $440 million.
So, you know, clearly NCACC and NACO and the league and the cities are still working to try to shake something loose in Washington. But, you know, it's a battle right now.
So, Deborah, I guess it would be good for you to let us know if we should really write a letter then, or pass a resolution or something that really states the facts, if this message is not getting to where it needs to go.
And any further distribution, I think that's a good idea. I think that any distribution should not create haves and have-not. The idea that there's this magic threshold of 500,000, they get so much of the money, and then the rest of us get the crumbs. There needs to be much more of a, you know, gentle slope down, and not have this threshold of 500,000 where they won the lottery. It's ridiculous. So I think we actually need to be sending a letter to that effect to our congressman and Poppy, our local delegation, because this is very important. If there is another bill, let's try to make it more equitable.
And that was part of our conversation about what the schedule is right now, given timing. You know, they're in adjournment, and we've got the election coming, and the chances that there would be anything else coming forward during this period. So that was the conversation we were having. The next set of items were submitted by Rod Jenkins, and they came from the North Carolina Public Health Association. And I'll let Rod sort of summarize the proposed goals, if you don't mind.
Good evening again. Ironically enough, as you would have guessed, we did not think it robbery to ask for $8 million, which was going to be divided by 85 counties in an effort for us to be able to beef up our CD staff, communicable disease staff, in the event of a pandemic. So we did not receive it, and we're still advocating for it. And I think suffice to say now they probably get it. So we'll continue to advocate for that. we do know that school health nurses play such a critical part in our kids' upbringing and education. And we still want to reach that goal to where there's one school health nurse in every school. I know in the county that I came from, which was Cumberland County, we were severely in a deficit when it came to school health nurses. I think we had probably one for every 4 or 5 schools in Cumberland County. So that was definitely not a good thing. So we wanted to definitely advocate for that. And, again, support legislation that, in all intents and purposes would ban Medicaid to take care of the coverage gap. We do know that most recently, I think the most recent state, Deborah Craig Ray, was Missouri. And so much so to where at one of the press conferences, Secretary Cohen gave them a shout out because they went ahead and did the referendum and they did it. And they're going to reap the benefit of that federal money. And more Missourians are going to be taken care of. So why not North Carolina? And then, of course, we want to support discretionary funding for us to be able to do the research to really know what the true needs are of our communities in the form of community health assessment. So thankful for you all. Durham gets, and we have done it. One of the things that attracted me to Durham was the fact that they were an award winner for the community health needs assessment, meaning that our community got together and were able to really put forth a great product that was award winning. So that let me know that they definitely you guys took community health needs assessment very seriously. We want that to be happening statewide. And of course, we endorse a request to enhance schools' accountability reporting for quality physical education, which again, even in this COVID experience, we do find that kids are still finding a way to exercise. And we do know that that is a successful indicator of early child development, making sure that they get off to a great start. And then we want to, along with food insecurity, we want to endorse $1 million for recurring funds to expand North Carolina's Healthy Food Small Retailer Program. And we want that to be able to tap into the community's existing retail footprint to make it easier for us to do away with food desert. For us to be able to, everyone to be able to have access to good, healthy foods no matter where they live. And just a couple more. I do know that we, as far as our tobacco initiatives, we wanted to request $3 million in recurring funds to expand evidence-based tobacco cessation and prevention services to include Quitline, NC. And then, of course, the additional funding would be required to meet the ban of North Carolina's tobacco users. We do know that in this COVID experience, we are seeing that more and more people are utilizing as a way of respite, as a way of relaxing, and we want to help those individuals. Second to last, we want to endorse a request appropriate for at least $7 million recurring funds for tobacco use prevention programs. We're so thankful to our commissioners for approving our efforts. We are pretty soon going to be advertising for a regional tobacco control manager to be housed here in Durham County. And, again, Durham has always led the way when it comes to tobacco cessation and tobacco prevention efforts. And we hope to be a model and an example for the rest of the state. So we certainly would endorse this. And last but not least, we wanted to oppose the privatization of state control system of the selling of alcohol and liquor. And so far, we've been able to, at the last session, we were a tad bit successful in this endeavor. That is all we have for right now.
Thank you, Rod. So commissioners, if you have any other items you would like for us to hear, this is what we were seeking, and then we can work on it and bring it back by the 28th meeting for full approval, and then we can send it on to NCACC and still meet the deadline.
Okay, anybody else have suggestions of legislative goals? Commissioner Reckow. You're on mute.
I wanted to raise the issue about the requirement that the state has put on counties to house sentenced felons for as much as 30 some days in local jails. They're doing that, I guess, to relieve pressure on the state prison system, perhaps to have fewer inmates in their prisons to reduce COVID transmission, which is all well and good. However, what I have a problem with is the fact that their reimbursement to us is only $40 a day, and it's been at $40 a day for a very long time, probably going back 20 some years or more. I think that we need to say to the state that we're willing to participate for health and safety reasons, but we should be made whole and that they should be reimbursing at our full cost, particularly given COVID, where we just discussed the fact that it will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to be testing people regularly in the jail. And that would include these inmates that we're now required to house from the state.
Thank you for raising that, Commissioner Reckow. And I don't know what our current cost was. At one point, it was at least $90 a day.
Yeah.
And that the cost may have increased now with COVID. So certainly $40 a day does not cover that cost.
I can work with Jody Miller to get that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other suggested legislative goals? Anyone else? Commissioner Carter?
I was just gonna ask if we want to do what we have done in the past, at least, and check with the school board and even the city, see what is on their agenda and if there could be any strength in numbers with us taking that on as well. In particular, you know, I know I've served some anyway on the Education Steering Committee, and it would be good to know what school board, if there's anything in particular they're fighting for this year.
All right. I will check in with both of them. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And in that regard, I so worry about our young people who, with all due respects to the remote learning, maybe falling behind because remote learning is not a great replacement to in-person learning. I wonder if we should be asking for the state to pull together some of the best thinkers in the state to discuss what happens when we can safely gather our kids together to learn. What needs to happen in terms of helping them catch up? Do we need special tutoring? I don't have the answers, but I'm just thinking that this is an issue, a problem, and it would be good to be proactive and have them come together, think about it, get some of the leaders at our education schools of education across the state, and other good thinkers on education to discuss provide guidance as to what districts should be doing when we finally can open up.
And not just what we should be doing, but the resources that we need.
And
to implement it, the funding needed to implement it.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, great suggestions from everybody. And so, Deborah, you'll bring this back at our September 28th meeting.
Yes.
And I guess we have to have either a letter or a resolution or something that we approve to move on.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much, and appreciate Rod and Ben for the suggestions that you both have put forward. Thank you so much. Okay, we now have BOCC directives, and I'm going to turn over to you, Drew. I'm going to disappear to look at my email because I know I was having trouble pulling them up, and I'm going to try to quickly look and see. I know you did send it out, and I didn't have a chance to look at it. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let everybody else chime in for a minute. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Drew Cummings, Chief of Staff. We sent a link out for these directives leading up to the September 8th work session. We didn't have time to discuss them there. I sent out another link today just to make sure everybody had a functioning, up-to-date link to the directives. We continue to work with staff to make sure that any of the directives that are still in yellow and still have some outstanding work related to them are getting worked on and brought back, or either brought back to future commission meeting or information sent out in a timely way. But with that, I'll stop talking and see if there are questions about particular directives that staff can react.
I had a question, Drew. At the work session, I did raise the issue about asking how many sentenced felons were in the jail. Did that make it? I did not see it doesn't look like it made it into the direct. I actually end up following up with the sheriff individually myself.
Okay, yes, it did not make it onto there, but that's certainly something that we can continue to work on getting. That did get, I thought maybe did the sheriff answer that question during the meeting, or he was going to follow up with information?
No. So what I got back is currently there are 9, but it fluctuates. And the other key data was that typically they're being asked to hold for 30 days after sentence.
Okay.
So I'm seeing what you had for the work session, but I'm not seeing the other meetings. What do I have to do to get to them? Well, I'm just in September of 2020, but how do I move to another month? Oh, I see. Got it. Okay. Probably easier to do on a computer, but I'm using my iPad. Okay, I see it.
And I will say I tried, Drew, and I still did not work for me at that link. It was like 2017 and 2018. I don't know why this is always so problematic. So I'll just follow up with you via email when I'm finally able to look at it, unfortunately. Do you want to maybe just highlight for us what are the things that are still outstanding? Could you do that? Maybe if there's not that much.
So,
Something's wrong with the sound.
sorry,
That's okay.
I'm not audible, or
The same thing happened with Rod.
I don't know. Drew, I think it may be your earbud.
problem. Try to speak up. Wake work program. all Durham, really.
So when things are colored in yellow, that means that it's a work in progress?
Correct. And then I periodically send out updates to staff if they have items still in yellow. Sometimes that means work needs to be done, or sometimes the work has been done and it just needs to be switched out of yellow if updates been sent out or whatever. And there are a couple, for example, in August, related to 300 and 500 block that are still in yellow, and an updated timeline on the animal control facility. Those are the only ones from August that are still in yellow. Are other commissioners able to kind of go back through the months and look through?
Yes, now I can see them all. I can spend hours here looking at all the directives.
I can't get access to Drew, so I'll call you tomorrow and we'll figure out what's going on. We won't work on it tonight.
I didn't have any trouble.
Okay, Heidi, was there anything that you felt that you were concerned about with the directive? Since you could look at them.
Nothing I want to discuss. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Move on. All right. Well, I'm sorry. This always seems to be this doesn't seem to be functional for us, technology-wise. We may need another solution. I don't know if we could. Maybe we can give a directive to Greg.
I'll check in with Greg tomorrow and just see whether he has any ideas about what may be going on. Because once you get the link, maybe they expire in some cases, but the link should work pretty well. I mean, I'm able to access documents that have been shared with me, significantly long time ago. Still, so I'm not clear what's going on either, and I'm sorry about that.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that would be
I think
great.
you need a strong Wi-Fi in your house because this is a very dense file.
How about this? I'm going to add a directive from tonight to check on the technological backbone for the directive.
Okay. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate that. Okay. Our board is requested to adjourn to closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body, or in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3. We are also requested to adjourn to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial appointment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Reckow, seconded by Commissioner Howerton, and we'll do a voice vote. Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Reckow?
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton?
Yes.
Okay, yes, so we're unanimously adjourned to closed session. Thank you, everyone who's been with us this evening. Thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will all follow the link that Monica has provided for us for the closed session. Thank you.
interested, my daughter has been leading a petition campaign.
Given direction from staff, we have a motion to take action on. Commissioner Recco, could you please read that?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the Board of County Commissioners for good cause shown rescind an action and vote passed on July 13th, 2020, whereby we authorize staff to enter into a contract with Carolina Duke Inn to extend and provide services to the homeless during the present COVID-19 pandemic for $540,000.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Recco, seconded by Commissioner Carter. A voice vote. Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Recco,
Yes.
and I'm yes, so that motion is unanimously approved. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Howerton, seconded by Commissioner Recco. Voice vote. Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Recco,
Yes.
Commissioner Howerton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So we are unanimously adjourned. Thank you, Monica, for everything as always. Good night, everybody.